are live. Interesting. So yes, we are live as we speak. If you're joining from whatever part of the world, it'll be nice to know. However, we'll go on with this conversation. And today, we started off yesterday with the thoughts around husband versus husband. That was what we talked about yesterday. Husband versus husband. But for some reason, I'm sure a lot of people were wondering, and we promised that today we start this series with this thought as to my wife earns more. Am I still the man? It's interesting thoughts since we started this, and I've been having all kinds of commentaries here and there. So let me ask you something, okay? Does a man's worth depend on his paycheck? Okay, particularly in this world where more and more women are becoming the breadwinners. How do we, as men, define ourselves? Is our masculinity tied to financial provision alone, or is there something deeper that makes us the leader and the protector that we are? And those will be my starting thoughts for the conversation today, because truly a lot is changing and the dynamics are shifting, and until we brace up to some of the changes that we are faced with, we probably would not be experiencing much of grace at this times. Okay, so I urge you to there's you to come in and let's get this going. What's the reason for the echo? Okay, let's see. I think this works. This just works now. This confirm. Yeah, I think this just works now. If you're live and you can hear me, you may just want to drop a word in the comment box. Other than that, I just believe all is going well. And I would want you to please share your thoughts and perspective as we start on this day 2 series of redefining masculinity. Redefining masculinity today, and I hope that we can get this going. Let me do a few checks here and there, and just affirm that things are, yes, absolutely. I see all going well. Okay, yes. So like I started this conversation, I said, look, we had gone through yesterday's thought, series 1, as to the difference between the husband and the husband. Yes, not the word bank. And that the husband is not just the, so to say, the only provider, as the case may be. The husband also, for whatever it is, he is much more than the provider. Is much more than the provider. Is much more than the provider. And as this conversation goes on, I hope that we can take this further. Okay, we can take this further today to discuss as to what happens when the man, okay, when the woman earns more. Okay, and somehow it's become a battle of some sort. What happens? What do we do? How do we navigate these times? So those will be some of my thoughts, and I hope that we will be able to navigate sufficiently. Now, you know, there are two dimensions to this, or probably about three dimensions to this. But first, it would be nice to establish a few things around hypergamy and hypogamy. Okay, so first, this is I'm dealing with an ideal situation. You know, I have a couple of coaching clients, and somehow I've also had to unlearn and also relearn a few thoughts I'm sharing on this channel based on the fact that this has become a major issue. So there are women that they always want their men to earn more. Okay, so when that's hypergamy, so at that instance you realize that it's usually always very difficult to manage those situations. Okay, but then you can always manage those situations by the efforts you put. Also, there's the hypogamy. You know, some women just want the men to earn less than them. Okay, but I'm talking about an ideal situation where there's some form of balance, and my wife earns more. Does it make me less of a man? So look, increasing number of women are changing as breadwinners. We every day we hear commentaries around this. The agitations also getting more women on board. The traditional roles of men, okay, so to say, constantly shifting, and we are, you know, always just saying, hey, what then can we do? You know, so I have personally experienced this. I recall the first within the first 8-9 years of my marriage, everything was handled by me. Okay, literally everything was, like, financially, everything was literally handled by me until I got into a crisis. But you know, that crisis helped me to understand that, and brought me to that second, the sixth point as to your wife or your woman being a partner. So prior to that time, I never ever considered her as a partner. I'd always just gone on, you know, with my life, and all I would require is a list, okay? And every time I would ask for what's the list, what can we do differently, where are we going, all that decision was literally taken by me. But as soon as I got into that crisis, for about 6-7 months that looked like a year, I saw our input, okay? We never starved, the home was running smoothly, and it decided to give me a different perspective as to the role of the wife, you know, the role of the woman. But, you know, I also, you know, I'm bringing a couple of perspectives to this beyond just the changing roles of men, okay, and the changing roles of women, beyond the fact that traditionally there's been this definition of masculinity, and we're going beyond that. You know, also, like I've said, look, your worth should not be determined by how much you earn, because you are supposed to bring much more than just being a financial provider to the home. So the myth of the breadwinner, and that's where I want to start off this discussion. I haven't told you that, yeah, there are instances of hypergamy and then there's hypogamy, but can we begin to focus on this myth of the breadwinner point of view? When two people come in with a vested interest to want to pool the resources together, want to start a family, there's this thing that usually happens, okay? Particularly when in this side of the world, the focus is on, can we have our children? Or the grandparents are saying, can we have our grandchildren? Ideally, if you get into a marriage, it would have been nice if you could stay, you know, a few years, just to further, you know, understand your woman. But anyway, that shifts. The woman probably conceives. From the point of conception, the role then, because of you know, she's physically impeded, the man already now starts to rise up to begin to explore how he can be of immense benefit. So at that instance, he's not thinking about, he's not even hoping that his wife will get involved. He is constantly thinking as to how can we make it better? So he's going there trying to fend for the family. Remember what I said, if the family probably had planned the entrance of a child, then you probably will not be having some of these issues. But when that is not planned, year one, the woman has conceived, the baby comes in, and at that point, there's the biological perspective now, where as soon as the baby comes in, something begins to happen. There's this affinity that is being drawn to the child by the mother. So biologically, that has started to change the narrative as to the role of men and women, as it were. And because the man also cannot be a laggard, and because the man also was not trained, as it were, to be part of that process, he begins to look for other ways to be relevant in the home. I recall when I was having our first child, something significantly happened. Prior to that time, I started to watch videos as to how to be a father, how to take care of a child. So I was able to lean through to support my wife through that process. In fact, just after I got married, I had to get out of work. It was a clear decision that I took jointly with my wife. In fact, that was the first decision we took on my wedding day, when they asked me to resume a week after. And I said, hey, I'm not going back there. And we just said, look, are you able to roll with me and believe in my faith? And we went on, and somehow about 90 days thereafter, I got a job. But that wasn't even it. There were a couple of things I also noticed that made me vow within myself that, hey, I shouldn't be out of it. Just made me run like a madman, and helped me recenter my focus on being a financial provider. Because I couldn't grapple with the fact that she was trying to nurture our children, or she was in pregnancy at that time. And there I am, or I was at that point. What then would I be doing? I just needed to be able to show some support, beyond just having to be there emotionally, and just being a partner and a friend. I just needed to also show that, hey, we're expecting a baby, and I'm doing all I can to make it worth their while. And then something now happened. Just after I had that shift, I realized that the babies would naturally cling to their mom. Okay. And you begin to feel, so that's how you get edged out. So as the guy, that's how. So if you're just getting married, or you're about to get married, that's how you start getting edged out in that equation. Because if you think momentarily that all you're meant to provide is finance, you would have missed it. So you need to get involved in the social, the spiritual, the physical, and every other aspect of the child, and that helps us to take this conversation even better. So remember, I said this myth starts from the bit around the biological inference. Okay, then there's also the financial element where in this world, as we begin to reframe masculinity, leadership has shifted, and leadership is moving beyond just power. It's about partnership. So in clients, and even in the world, even in the corporate sector now, the era of boss is over. So we have coaches and leaders, and so also in the home, the era of the Lord and Master is shifting, and so the earlier men start to grapple with this, and start to see that masculinity today means is about adapting and leading with emotional intelligence. And what happens that in the corporate sector, or even in the community, is also reflective of what happens at home. So if you go for all those learnings and all those trainings, just like they do at Strength Africa, you also begin to understand that, hey, look, this also must relate at home, because you're working as a team. So we've had more women rise up as breadwinners, and women, are becoming the primary earners, so to say. But it wouldn't and shouldn't change the man's role. Indeed, partnership is not competition. It's a key, all right, to driving in this dynamic world. It's key. And one of the things we would like to underline and underscore in the course of this conversation over the next few days is that it's about partnership. And with partnership, there must be a goal in mind. So one of the things that has led a lot of marriages into chaos is that there is no purpose. And let me say that again. Once the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And that's one of what I think it was Miles Monroe that said that look, when the purpose of a thing is not clearly defined, okay, so you then cannot know what wars to wage at, okay, or what battles to fight at, okay. You don't even know what you want to target. Then everything is convoluted. If you ask anyone, most times when people get into those crises, I say, okay, look, what then and how and why were you guys married? You probably would have been emotionally driven, okay, without a clear purpose, without a clear identification of, like, identifying what they have in common, the battles that they can win together. In those dating moments, what were your discussions? Even in marriages right now, some marriages have no direction. The goals are, divergent. So obviously there will always be a struggle. So like we say, it's partnership. So beyond that biological perspective, there's the financial perspective. Men are proving their relevance by virtue of being a provider. And we're saying, no, that narrative has to shift. The world is changing. Okay, it does not make you less of a man. You just must even accept that fact. If you want to proceed on this journey, you just must accept that fact. That look, the dynamics, the paradigm has shifted. The times have changed. Okay, and I gave you an instance. Who doesn't want, even though statistics, everywhere we get statistics as to men get dissatisfied when their women earn more. But most times people don't even understand why that happens. Okay, because all along, all the man has derived his relevance was from being a provider, the financial support. Then there's the biblical support. Okay, there's a perspective around the Proverbs 31 woman. So what the man brings to the Proverbs 31 woman is integrity. Is integrity, is leadership. The woman is working tirelessly, right? And I'm not saying this is to encourage men to become laggards. No, we're saying that it's a combined effort, okay, where people can begin to understand that their roles, though there's a biological dimension to those roles, but the role is supposed to complement each other to the point where, okay, so what happens when the woman stops winning the children, and the children are now all grown? Is she supposed to remain idle? No. And so women are beginning to rise up to say, hey, I can't just be sitting. They have a purpose to fulfill. If you've not helped them define that purpose, then they get to something that they love and they are passionate about. I have daughters, right? And my daughters are passionate about what they want to become in future, even before marriage. Now, are you saying that they will get married and then they would, close the chapter on those dreams, those lofty ideas? Why then do we send them to school? Oh, no. It means that they also have something to offer their work. And the moment we begin to understand this, that it's complementary, we are supposed to be collegiate, okay, and collective leaders driving towards a common purpose, okay? So the role of the husband is respected not for his income, but for integrity. And even Jesus, he models this type of leadership as to, it's about service and not dominating. The era of dominating in the workplace and even at home has changed. It's no longer acceptable. Back in those days, I read books like The Mafia Manager, The 48 Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction. But they don't bring about leadership. They don't lead. They don't bring about change the way you want it. It breeds fear. And there's a limit to which you can operate under with the air of fear. After some time, you just become, so you must bring more value than being arrogant and being dominant. And other than also just being a financial provider is to also be able to, a project is going on. Can you bring your intellectual sagacity at work? Can you begin to deploy yourself, even physically, to assist? Can you begin to come into the understanding that you are much more than just being a financial provider? Can you offer emotional support? Okay, so this will help deal with some of the insecurities in marriages. Yes, I suffered some of those insecurities because at some point, like I told you about my $30 experience, I said, hey, she was earning more, right? Food was on the table. I kind of first felt less of a man, but I started to unlearn these dynamics, and I realized that no, I offer more, I bring more than just being the financial provider. Look, this thing, by the time you get it, you begin to understand that insecurity does not define your masculinity. What defines you truly is your character. If you are hardworking, if you are purposeful, if you have grit, you have resilience, if you are adaptable, over time you begin to push like never before. You begin to move in the way you ought to move. So, look, your worth as a man is found in your purpose, not in your paycheck. And I needed to re-emphasize that, because if there's no purpose, almost like I earlier alluded to, then everything would almost be like guesswork, and there will be chaos and confusion, and clearly there will be crisis. Can we have a purpose? Can we have a goal? Can we have an end in mind? And that way we can work collectively together to build that. So we must now get into that era of purpose-driven masculinity. When I started to talk about purpose-driven masculinity, and people are saying, oh, a purpose-driven life, I'm essentially saying that, it's about living your purpose as delivered to you by your creator. It's about leading your family with integrity, compassion, and with vision. It's about, notwithstanding the financial roles you play, but your purpose over your home is sacrosanct. It's something that must be driven with intention and with purpose. You must work in hand with your family, with your wife and your children, to be able to express some of those things. So yesterday we talked about the 7 pillars, right? Does anybody remember those 7 pillars? I heard somebody, say, yeah, somebody's okay, glad to be here. Yeah, see you. Yeah. So you might drop some thoughts in the comments if you can hear, and whatever questions you have, you could just drop it. So can anybody remember the seven dimensions of man? Okay, like the 7 pillars we started to talk about the man. Okay. There probably is a gift for anyone. Okay, yes. So protector. Man is a protector. Yes, beyond being a protector, man is a partner, is a priest. Beyond being a priest, is a provider. Beyond being a provider, man is what? A partner. Beyond being a partner, is a patriarch. Beyond being a partner, he is what? He's a procreator. Yes. Okay. Yeah, great. It's good to see. David, thank you. Yeah, he's a patriarch and he's a priest. Yes. So you see, it goes on and on and on to the point where you realize that man is like the partner, is the planner, is the prophet over the. It could be anything. Just think through it. Just start to think through some of the things we talked about yesterday, and you just begin to realize that the man is much more than a financial provider. It's much more than a financial provider. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is about redefining men, but remember the call was for men and the women who love their men, and it would just clearly be nice to just say thank you all for joining us on this. As we help to redefine masculinity. And it's important to say masculinity is not about earning more. It's about leading with purpose, love, and partnership. So in marriages today, in your home, leadership is about service and not power. It's not about competing with each other, right? And financial roles may change, but your role as a man remains anchored in your values. And every man should have his own values, and then you should also have the family values. So my final quote would be: masculinity is measured not by financial dominance, but by love, leadership, and legacy you leave behind. Can somebody help me put that up? Let me see if I can put that up. Let me type that out. So yes. Masculinity is measured not by financial dominance, but by love, leadership, and legacy that you leave behind. And that's it. Once we begin to understand that it's much more than all that we think it is, once we begin to realize that a man standing strong is not just a man that has the bank, even though that is part of it, but we then must begin to see ourselves as along the lines of all that we have been talking about. Just as a form of recap, I've told you that the era of the era where the man was seen as the breadwinner has shifted. I've brought the biological perspectives to this fact that somehow the myth around having the woman or the man as a breadwinner was also influenced by the fact that whilst women were nurturing the child, the man got his relevance by going to go and shop for some wealth or some money somewhere to take care of the home. But imagine if it was a collegiate effort, because that's the times that we're in requires a collegiate effort in nurturing the home and not just the child. So you find out that men that were abdicated their responsibility of support other than financial saw it as the only way they became relevant in the child. But if you are given emotional support, social support, priestly support, leadership, insight, guidance, and along the way, across the map, you'll find out that you are still as relevant today, and the dealings of the insecurities would probably also be probably nipped in the bud. So masculinity truly is not about financial dominance. And we said it's not a power play, it's a partnership. We must play as partners. We are partners, and as partners, as partners, things can only work when then there is a clear purpose. Once we have clarity of purpose, those will be the conversations that we would also delve into. I know tomorrow we have an amazing time, but let me even ask this question today for you on this call. How do you define your role? How do you define your role as a man in today's world? You could please leave a comment, and if anyone feels otherwise, let's have your thoughts, okay? Let's have your thoughts as to how do you think as a man you should define, or you define your role as a man in today's world. And I urge you to subscribe for more insights on redefining masculinity. It promises to be great and interesting, and I'm learning even as I go on this journey. I'm learning every day, and as I learn, I hope that you are also able to, because learning leads to behavioral changes, right? And this behavioral change, I hope that it can help us achieve more, and not just have us as men without a purpose. So day 3, can anyone help me flag off day 3? We're going to be talking about the one secret that keeps marriages together, and I'm going to be sharing that from experience. I told you I've been married for over 20 years now. So for the 3rd series, we're going to be talking about the secret that keeps marriages together. It's going to be this time tomorrow, same time we started today, tomorrow, and it promises to be highly informative and transformative. Okay, so I urge you to subscribe for more insights on redefining masculinity. See you tomorrow, and let's get this ball rolling, because truly the dynamics around the man and the woman is shifting, and we all must shift. So do something different. Okay, you are worth more than your paycheck. See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.